Hey, good, I don't know, afternoon, morning, evening, whenever it is that you watch to this. It's me, Mr. Byers. Okay. Today we're going to talk about week 3 and elements of short stories. I have already posted the um, the analysis videos for the Adulterous Woman and Story of an Hour. Okay. And you're going to be doing some writing about those two. And you'll have a sort of short answer analytical quiz to take as well over those stories. Okay, but I thought that it would be important for me to go over how I expect your answers to your responses to be written. Okay, and some of the things that you're going to discuss in your first essay in relation to short stories. This unit is a short story unit. So we are reading these two stories, and then we're going to read two more stories and analyze them. And then you are going to read a short story on your own, and you are going to write your first paper about that short story. All right, all about your own interpretation. I am going to be providing you the interpretation for these first 4 short stories that we are reading. So when you read your own short stories, you'll be writing a paper on your own analysis. Okay? Cool. Okay. Oops. Hold on. There we go. All right. English 1102, week 3. So when talking about writing, okay, your responses on the short story quiz that will be coming up soon, your body paragraphs in your essays, okay, they should all follow the same format. And it's the format of the perfect paragraph. So if you took my class, I don't know, I don't think any of you, if any of you happen to have been one of my 1101 students, then some of this is redundant to you, all right? Because I teach this in 1101 and 1102. To master the paragraph, okay, is to master the essay. If you get the structure of a paragraph really well, then you will be able to write a good essay, because an essay is just made up of several paragraphs. A paragraph has 3 parts to it. First, it's the claim. The claim is the main idea that is being made in the paragraph. And this claim should only take up about 20% of your overall paragraph. It's the main idea of the paragraph reduced to a basic sentence or 2 sentences. All right? Think about this. A claim is to a paragraph as a thesis is to an essay. Okay? It's the driving force behind it. The next part of your paragraph should be support. This should be quotes and contextual support from the story. If you are making a statement about a character, then you need to have support from the story that proves that point. And that should be 30% of your paragraph. So between the claim and the support, that's 50% of your paragraph. The rest of the 50% of your paragraph is your analysis. Okay? Your analysis is 50% of the paragraph. The analysis is your interpretation. That's where you are explaining your claim. Okay? And you take that evidence and you explain how people should understand it. Okay? You can't just show evidence. You have to explain the evidence. And that is your analysis. You can't just provide quotes. Some people will have a claim and then they'll have a whole paragraph of just a quote and move on. And I guess they just assume the quote is self-evident. But you cannot assume anything is self-evident. You have to explain it. So 50% of the paragraph should be your own words proving your point. So this is like taking the base idea of your claim and extending it into an actual argument. So what does this look like? Well, let me tell you. Let me show you. Give you an example. So, we're going to imagine that you read these two stories. There's The Never-Ending Story, which was made into an awesome movie from the 80s. And then there is a short story called Earth on Turtle's Back. Both of these stories include a turtle. Okay? And so we are imagine that I was asking you to write a comparison and contrast analysis of how the turtle is used in two stories. Okay? This is a student's response to this question. This was actually taken from one of my classes. Okay, there's a few typos, but for the most part, the student is correct. Here we go. The stories Earth on Turtle's Back and The Never-Ending Story both contain a turtle that is sought out to help with a current problem within the story. In Earth on Turtle's Back, the spirit god's wife falls through the hole in the sky and plummets into the ocean. In order to save her, the turtle sacrifices his shell to carry the solid earth so she will not drown. In contrast to the helpfulness of the turtle in that story, the turtle in The Never-Ending Story is the complete opposite. She's selfish, unhelpful, and pessimistic about helping solve Fantastica's problems. She does not want to provide any support because, quote, everything is pointless, it all just happens again. These two depictions of the similar characters represent how age impacts our outlooks on life. The younger turtle is eager to help, volunteer, and be active, while the older turtle is reluctant to help, to get involved in the problems of the world and of a world that seems to be behind her. All right, so that's the response. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to highlight the three different parts of the paragraph: claim, support, analysis, and we'll show you how it's divided up. Boom! Look at that. So the yellow is claim, the green is support, the purple is analysis. Okay. So the first part is claim. The stories Earth on Turtle's Back and The Never-Ending Story both contain a turtle that is sought out to help with a current problem within the story. That's the main idea. They both deal with turtles that are there to or consulted to help. Okay. Now we have support. Support is either summary or direct quotes from the text. In Earth on Turtle's Back, the spirit god's wife falls through the hole in the sky and plummets into the ocean. In order to save her, the turtle sacrifices his shell to carry the solid earth so she will not drown. That's a summary of what happens. For the second story, she does not want to provide any support because we have a quote. Because everything is pointless, it all just happens again. That's our support. Now, if we count the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we have about 6.5 lines, 6 and 1/3 lines of support and claim combined. The analysis is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 7 lines. So you see that the analysis is half of this paragraph. And the analysis is all what it says, analysis, all right? Sacrifices. This writer interprets the turtle's action as an action of sacrifice, even though sacrifice is never used in the story. All right, the turtle in Never-Ending Story is interpreted as being selfish, unhelpful, and pessimistic, even though those words were never used in the story. Okay, this is the writer giving us her interpretation and writing it in a way so we understand it. That's the way your paragraphs should look. They should be longer because they should have 3 parts: claim, support, analysis. The support is not self-evident. You can't just have the support. You have to have the analysis. If you just have claim and support, and that's it, then you're missing half of what you're supposed to be doing. At the same time, though, you can't just have claim and analysis. You can't have your claim and then explanation without any proof, any justification. Where's your evidence? I might write, where's your evidence? Okay. So we are talking about short stories, okay? You have read some short stories. I've posted videos about analyzing short stories. We have 2 more short stories to read, and then you are going to read one on your own. So that's 5 short stories. So we should have a basic working understanding of what short stories are. A short story is a work of short narrative prose that is usually centered around one single event. It is limited in scope and has an introduction, body, and conclusion. A beginning, middle, and end. Okay? Although a short story has much in common with a novel, it is written with much greater precision, meaning that you might find this weird, but a lot more thought is put into every little bit of a short story than it is given to a novel. A novel is so big, the small little details are hard to finite. But the short story, though, all you have is small little specific details. So you have plenty of space and time for an author to put in a lot of focus into those little things. Okay? An analysis of a short story requires basic knowledge of literary elements. These are things in which you can discuss in your paper when you analyze a short story. Okay? Setting, plot and structure, narrator and point of view, conflict, climax, theme, style. These are all things that I discussed also in my analysis of Story of an Hour and The Adulterous Woman. Setting. Okay. Setting is a description of where and when the story takes place. In a short story, there are fewer settings compared to a novel. Time is more limited. Setting matters. What role does setting play in the story? Is it an important part of the plot or theme? Or is it just a backdrop against which the action takes place? So like with Story of an Hour, okay? That took place in her bedroom because her bedroom represented who she was as a person. That was her life, and the window was open, and that meant that her life was now open to better possibilities. Okay, the Adulterous Woman takes place in the desert, a dry and barren place. That's on purpose because her life is dry and lifeless. It's boring. All right. And when she goes to a foreign land and learns something about herself, that is symbolic of her going deeper into herself to find something deeper about herself. Sometimes what's really affecting us emotionally inside is a foreign land. We're so detached from it that we don't ever want to visit it. And that's what she does. She goes within herself and she finds herself. Setting can be very symbolic. Okay? And we'll see setting really affects one of the other stories that we read. Hills Like White Elephants. It's very important to that. But at the same time, when we read Sea Change in a little while, the setting is not important. Okay? All right. You can look through some of these yourself. Plot and structure. The plot is the main sequence of events that make up the story. In short stories, the plot is usually centered around one experience or a significant moment. What is the most important event? How is the plot structured? Is it linear, chronological, or does it move around? Is the plot believable? So with The Adulterous Woman and Story of an Hour, we have a plot and we have climactic moments. Okay, the climaxes of both of them are generally Lucifer the Adulterous Woman. It was her climax. All right, that was it. The climax of the Story of an Hour was not her climax, but I think it was probably her death. Okay, and so the plots are sometimes there's a lot of action, and other times it's more thoughtful. All right, the narrator. The narrator is the person telling the story. Is the narrator and the main character the same? There's narrator and there's point of view. The narrator can be telling the story, but the story is told from the point of view of the main character. By point of view, we mean from whose eyes the story is being told. Short stories tend to be told through one character's point of view. So like with The Adulterous Woman, the point of view is Janine's. That's her point of view. We only see what she sees, even though we're not. It's not her telling the story. It's some sort of narrator, God, somebody, but we only see what she sees, which is not totally the same with Story of an Hour. We do get some moments without Miss Mallard. So you should ask yourself questions like, who is the narrator or speaker in the story? Does the author speak through the main character? Which in The Adulterous Woman, yes. Is the story written in first person, I point of view? Conflict. How would you describe the main conflict? Is it internal conflict within the character? Most of the stories that we read are internal. There's a lot of internal conflict. I like some external conflict, but a lot of short stories deal with, because it's harder to do external conflict with short stories. I mean, it's not always. I mean, there's plenty of ones with like battling, fights, monsters, vampires, but most of the ones that we've read are all internal conflict, people within themselves. Conflict or tension is usually the heart of the short story and is related to the main character. In a short story, there's usually one main struggle. Just one. Okay? But when you might read a short story like Surviving the Game. Surviving the Game is a story about a rich man who's hunting, who brought somebody to his island to hunt. Okay? So, you might get some external conflict. But when you write about your story, you can write about conflict. Climax is the point of greatest tension or intensity in the short story. It can also be the turning point where events take a major turn as the story races towards its conclusion. Okay, with the Story of an Hour, we think that when she has her moment of climax, literally when she has her orgasm, brought on by the idea of freedom. Okay, I think many readers think that's the climax of the story until she runs out into the hallway and she sees her husband coming in, and her heart explodes. Okay, that's the actual climax. Okay, that's the resolution, and that leads into the resolution of the story and stuff. So that's the moment where the story really takes us to the point. Okay, but in like The Adulterous Woman, when the same thing happens to her in her story, when she has her climactic moment, that is the climax of the story, because after that, she goes back down to her room, she lays in her bed, and she copiously cries, a crying of release, of catharsis, of cleansing. Okay, and it's like she's healed, she's home again, in her own self. So like in that story, that really was the climax, when she had her orgasm based upon this feeling of freedom. Okay, so Miss Mallard's death was the climax of that one, of The Story of an Hour, while Janine's climax was her climax. Is there a turning point in the story? That deals with the same thing. All right, and then theme. The theme is the main idea, lesson, or message in the short story. It is usually an abstract idea about the human condition, society, or life. And that's big. I'm big on theme. Both Story of an Hour and The Adulterous Woman are strong on theme. The greatest pleasure a woman can have is freedom. Okay? A man is not what's going to get a woman to where she feels the greatest feeling of human existence. Okay? It's not a man. It's freedom. Autonomy. Autonomy is what's going to give her, anybody, the greatest sensation in life. Okay? So that's theme. That's an important thing. Men are not the answers to women. All right? Freedom, self-determination, autonomy, those are the answers to what women really need. Okay? Those are the themes of those stories. So when you read a short story on your own for your first paper, you should really think about theme. What is the theme of the story? And then style. The author's style has to do with the author's vocabulary, use of imagery, tone, or feeling of the story. Do they use a lot of symbolism? Is there a lot of dialogue? Is it only dialogue? We're gonna read in both of these stories there were very little dialogue, but then the next two stories we're gonna read, they're 90% dialogue. Okay. In some short stories, the tone can be ironic, humorous, cold, dramatic. Is it full of figurative language, literal language, curse words? Okay. All that kind of good stuff. So, this takes us to this week's work. Short story quiz 1. You should have read The Story of an Hour and The Adulterous Woman. You should have watched my analytical videos on both of those. Okay. And with that in mind, now we have also discussed setting, plot, characters, themes, literary devices, all that kind of stuff. All right. And so you are going to pick 3 items from The Story of an Hour and The Adulterous Woman. And in separate paragraphs, you're going to compare how the item is similar in each story and how it is different in each story and its significance within each story. So we discussed things like setting in Story of an Hour, like the windows, the openings, the rooms, all right, what do the rooms stand for? We talked about in both stories, there's the sound of water in both stories, okay? They're both housewives in both stories. There's similarities and there's differences in those. So you're going to pick 3 of those items, 3 of those pieces of symbolisms, 3 things that they have in common, but then also discuss how they're different. Since I have provided all this information in my post materials for you, I am not only grading you on the accuracy of your analysis, but also on your ability to synthesize all of this together into an intellectually worded explanation. I'll be grading your grammar, capitalization, sentence structure, and clarity. If you quote, then you should use quotation marks. And when you write the titles of the stories, they should be capitalized and within quotation marks, such as this. The Adulterous Woman and The Story of an Hour. This just comes from the handout. That's actually the assignment, which I'll show you where to find that in a moment. So I'm grading your writing. I'm grading your style. I'm grading all those kind of things, okay? And I've given you, if you watch those 2 videos, then all the answers are there. You just got to write about them in a way that's clear and concise, okay? So, look. See if I can pull this up. Oh, that's 11:01. 11:02. Okay. Go to lessons. Yep. Nope. Not essay 1. What am I doing? Lesson 2. Idiot. Just thundered real loud. Okay, go down to store. Here we go. Quiz 1, due August 31st. Okay, compare and contrasting Story of an Hour and The Adulterous Woman. Okay, this is what I just read to you. Okay, this is the way that your responses should look. It should look like your name, my name, English, the date, and a paragraph. But you should have 3 of these paragraphs. 3 of these. Okay? And it should be in MLA formatting. MLA formatting. So, you can actually open this up. Yeah, open. That's why I said, foo. Okay? So, your response should be, you can delete all this. Okay? Sarah Johnson, Mr. Byers, English, da-da-da. Okay? This is all, this is already in MLA formatting. The only thing I'd like for you to do is click this. You hit justify, Watch the right hand side. Boom! Look at that. Oh, it's so sweet. Look at that. It's all lined up. Okay, it's all lined up. Do that. All right. But you're right. But you're writing 3 paragraphs though. Right? You're writing. Look, it says pick 3 items and in separate paragraphs. So you're writing about 3 different things. So your final copy is going to look like this. See? Your name, all that, and then 3 copies. So you might be writing a document that is, well, I can't see. This little thing is in the way. My recorder is in the way, so I can't see, but a lot of words, okay? So don't go easy on it, okay? Do it well. All right? You can talk about theme. You can talk about symbolism. You can talk about setting, okay? You can talk about characters, how they're similar but different, how the setting is similar but different, how the theme is similar but different. Okay. All right. And then you're going to submit that. MLA style. Booyah. Booyah. MLA style. I'm going to post this PowerPoint for you. Yeah. Okay. Watch the video. Read the PowerPoint. Do good work. And I'll check y'all later. Peace.